The Scroll of Eternal Wisdom, a journey through ancient China's greatest secrets. Jake had always lived a life grounded in the mundane realities of the modern world. He worked long hours at a job he didn't particularly love, paid his bills on time, and dealt with the small frustrations of life as best he could. But deep down, there was a part of him that longed for something more, a sense of purpose, a deeper understanding of life that his routine failed to provide. It was on one of his rare days off that Jake found himself wandering through an old part of town, a place where the narrow streets were lined with antique shops and small, dusty bookstores. He was not in search of anything in particular, just a distraction from the worries that had been weighing on his mind. The door to one of the shops creaked as he pushed it open, the smell of aged wood and leather filling his senses. The shop was cluttered, filled with relics of the past, old clocks, faded photographs, and shelves lined with books that looked as though they hadn't been touched in decades. Jake's attention was drawn to a small, unassuming scroll sitting atop a pile of forgotten tomes. Something about it seemed to call out to him. Without thinking, he reached for the scroll. As he did, the shop owner, a wrinkled old man with a knowing look in his eyes, appeared from behind a curtain. "That," the man said in a voice that seemed both ancient and wise, "is no ordinary scroll. It holds great power and wisdom." Jake was skeptical but intrigued. "What kind of wisdom?" he asked, turning the scroll over in his hands. "The kind that can change your life," the old man replied with a cryptic smile. "But be warned, it's not for the faint of heart. This scroll will show you the way, but the path is yours to walk." Jake hesitated for a moment, then decided to buy the scroll. As he left the shop, the old man's words echoed in his mind, filling him with a mix of excitement and apprehension. When Jake returned to his apartment, he couldn't resist the urge to unravel the scroll. The parchment was yellowed with age, and the intricate Chinese characters that adorned it seemed to dance before his eyes as he began to read. Suddenly, the room around him started to spin, and before he could react, everything went dark. When Jake opened his eyes, he found himself standing at the edge of a vast bamboo forest, the scroll still clutched tightly in his hand. The air was thick with the scent of earth and greenery, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves overhead. The world he had known was gone, replaced by something entirely different, something ancient and mystical. A voice echoed through the forest, calm and steady. "The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step." Jake knew instinctively that this was the first of many lessons he would learn. As he began to walk, the bamboo forest seemed to close in around him. Each step was more difficult than the last, as if an unseen force was trying to hold him back. Just as the weight of it all began to overwhelm him, a figure appeared before him, a monk, his robes flowing like water in the breeze. The monk's voice was serene, filled with a wisdom that seemed to come from a lifetime of contemplation. "He who knows others is wise. He who knows himself is enlightened," the monk intoned, his eyes piercing into Jake's soul. The monk led Jake to a small clearing where a simple stone altar stood. On the altar was a single flickering candle, its flame dancing in the wind. The monk's words echoed in Jake's mind, and he began to understand that this journey was not just a physical one, but a journey into his own soul. Each step forward brought Jake closer to a truth he had never imagined, and each challenge he faced was a test not just of his strength, but of his understanding and his will. The proverbs the monk shared were more than just words. They were keys to unlocking the deepest parts of Jake's being, guiding him through the trials that lay ahead. The path was long and arduous, filled with obstacles that seemed insurmountable. But with each challenge, Jake found himself drawing on the wisdom he had learned, applying the ancient teachings to his modern struggles. And with each victory, he grew stronger, not just in body, but in spirit. As Jake ventured deeper into the mystical world of ancient China, he encountered other mentors, each with their own lessons to impart. A warrior taught him the value of resilience, quoting the proverb, "Fall 7 times, stand up 8." An enigmatic scholar guided him through the labyrinth of his mind, reminding him that to see things in the seed, that is genius. With each new mentor and each new lesson, Jake's understanding deepened, and he began to see the world and himself in a new light. He realized that the wisdom of the ancient scroll was not just a set of rules to follow, but a way of living, a path to true enlightenment. The final challenge came in the form of a mysterious force that sought to undo everything Jake had learned. It was a test of his resolve, a battle not just of strength, but of wisdom. Drawing on everything he had learned, Jake faced the challenge head-on, applying the proverbs and teachings that had guided him through his journey. In the end, Jake emerged victorious, not just in the battle, but in his understanding of life itself. The scroll had transported him to a world of ancient wisdom, but it had also shown him the path forward in his own life. The lessons he had learned in ancient China were just as relevant in the modern world, and he knew that he would carry them with him forever. When Jake finally returned to his apartment, he was not the same person who had left. The trials he had faced had changed him, and the wisdom he had gained had given him the strength to face whatever challenges life might throw his way. The scroll, now empty of its ancient characters, lay on the table before him, a reminder of the journey he had taken and the truths he had uncovered. And as he sat quietly reflecting on all that had happened, the words of the old man in the shop came back to him. "This will show you the way." And indeed it had.